The Portland Trailblazers have been in the news a lot this NBA offseason, mainly due to the entire Damian Lillard trade saga going on, but not a lot of people have focused on the team itself, and I think it is actually becoming an extremely underrated roster for what it has on it, and for all the tools it could add through a trade of someone like Damian Lillard, and I think overall this team deserves a lot more credit, even maybe a lot more recognition than they're actually getting, because even if Damian Lillard gets traded, I think this team could still be extremely competitive, and maybe even a play-in level team if they can develop all the right way. And I'm getting to all the scenarios and why I think this Portland Trailblazers team is in a great spot going forward, and why overall I think they deserve a little bit more recognition than what they are getting credit for. As one of the biggest things that comes with this whole Damian Lillard asking out, a lot of people are assuming the second Damian Lillard gets traded that this team is just going to be complete and utter ass, which I just can't see happening at all unless they go full on tank mode, and I'll be getting to that scenario a little bit later. But if they only trade Damian Lillard, they're still going to have probably one of the most underrated young cores in the entire NBA, as they will be getting led by a guy like Anthony Simons, and Anthony Simons is one of the most underrated guards in the NBA. He is a top 10 shooting guard if he starts and gets all the minutes. We've already seen him be multiple times 20-point per game scorers throughout an entire season. He's one of the best offensive guards in the entire NBA, hands down, and he is only 24 years old, and last year he literally averaged 21 points per game, 4 assists per game on 90% from the free throw line and 44% from the field to go along with 38% from three. And like I said, the kid is only 24 years old while also sharing touches with one of the most ball dominant guards in the entire league, like Damian Lillard. So I think even if you took Damian Lillard out, then he's going to be putting up even better numbers, and he's going to be looking even better, and maybe even become a top 8 shooting guard in the entire NBA if he was able to get full starter minutes and be the lead focus on an offense. And then after him, you still have multiple extremely high ceiling young guys. You have Scoot Henderson, who was this year's number 3 overall pick, easily could have been the 2nd overall pick in a lot of people's eyes. He should have been the 2nd overall pick, and his ceiling is just unbelievably high. He's already going to probably come into the NBA as an extremely good just slashing and passing and defending guard. I think that's just what he's going to be day one, and as he develops that jump shot, he's going to even become more and more dangerous. And I just think overall Scoot Henderson is one of the most high upside guards in the entire NBA, and with his passing, his elite defense, and his elite slashing, I think him and Anthony Simons would actually fit very, very, very well together as a backcourt going into the future for the Trailblazers. And then even behind him, you have someone like Shaedon Sharpe, who is also a top 1% athlete even in NBA terms, and he was last year's 7th overall pick, and he had showed tons and tons of potential throughout the entire season. And keep in mind that this kid wasn't supposed to get drafted until this year. Last year, when he was showing a lot of promise in the NBA, he was supposed to be still playing for Duke, I'm pretty sure, but yet he reclassified and went into that stacked draft class and was the 7th overall pick. So Shaedon Sharpe is extremely young, even if he would have been drafted this year, and at only 19 years old last year in the NBA. In the last 10 games of the season where he was getting legit extended minutes for really the first time after they kind of gave up on the season for those last 10 games, he was averaging 24 points per game, 1 steal per game, 4 assists per game, 6 rebounds per game on 46% from the field, 38% from the three, and on top of that, like I said, he was doing that at only 19 years old when he should have still been in college if he had not have reclassified. And that is extremely, extremely impressive, and he did all that scoring and very good shooting all while being the guy because they benched all their other high good players that weren't super young, and he is doing it at very young at an age while being a top 1% athlete even in NBA terms. And if that's not a high ceiling, I don't know what is. So adding Scoot Henderson to Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons is already a big 3 going into the future that a lot of teams would like to have. And then even on top of that, even guys with a little bit lower ceilings like Chris Murray, who was this year's, I think, 17th overall pick, even though he doesn't have the athleticism and probably will never be the all-star level player like the other guys could be, he is still going to be a very, very solid player. I think he's going to be a legit 15-point per game scorer, either off the bench or as a starting level power forward / small forward. He's just all around a very good good player who can shoot the hell out of the ball. He's a very solid two-way player, and just overall is going to be a very good NBA player for a very long time. And he is also extremely young. So if he's either backing up Shadyon Sharpe this year or maybe even starting alongside him, I think he will be a very good role player for them going forward. And then even some honorable mentions of this young core, they have guys like Nazir Little, Keon Johnson, John Butler Jr., Ryan Rupert, and all those players are also going to be extremely solid. And then on top of that, if they trade Damian Lillard, they even have that to go off of whatever young guys and picks they get to add to this young core. It's only going to get stronger if they trade Damian Lillard. So I think with even just their current young core before a Damian Lillard trade, it is still one of the most underrated in the entire NBA. And kind of the next point I really want to get into is going to be the fact that even if you just take it away from their young guys, they still have an extremely solid roster, just not from a young perspective, but just from an NBA perspective. Like I said, they have a legit top 12 shooting guard in Anfernee Simons on their roster. They just re-signed one of the best offensive power forwards in the entire NBA in Jeremy Grant. Now, yes, it was a very expensive contract, but he's, like I said, one of the best offensive power forwards in the NBA, and he is an extremely valuable player. Yusuf Nurkic, if he can ever just stay healthy, is a starting level center in the NBA. They also have Matisse Thybulle, who they traded for, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA, and although he is not even close to a good offensive player, he is improving his three-point percentage every year he's been in the NBA while taking even more three-point attempts, so that's always a good sign. And he's not even super old either, so he still has a little bit of room to improve. And then, like I said, all the young guys, plus they even have Damian Lillard currently on the roster, who said he will play for them if he is there for training camp, which is a very good thing to hear if you're a Portland Trailblazers fan. So even if they don't make a Damian Lillard trade, that young core plus all the role players they already have on the roster forms an extremely solid all-around roster, not even just from a rebuilding and young perspective, but from a legit competitive perspective. And what this versatility of a roster does, from it already being very solid to me, being a play-in level team without Damian Lillard and being a legit playoff team with Damian Lillard, it gives them a lot of flexibility. Because if they do decide to go in the route of trading Damian Lillard, they can do one of two things. They can either, one, completely tank, trade Jeremy Grant, trade Damian Lillard, trade Yusuf Nurkic, and trade anything else they think they can get value for as many picks and young assets as possible, and then go the huge tank route that a lot of teams go. Or you can even go into develop what you got now, get what you get from the Damian Lillard trade, and try to compete with the development of the guys you currently have on your roster, and bank on yourself. And I think that would be a very solid route to go down, because if you just trade Damian Lillard, you're probably going to get a very high level starting level young guy among a ton of picks, or you're going to get a whole bunch of very solid role players with a ton of picks. Either one will make this roster stronger, and with their young talent, with the development I think they're going to have, and how fast I think their growth is going to come, and how good I think Scoot Henderson's going to be, and Shadyon Sharpe's second year jump, I just think overall this team has a potential to be very good, even if they trade Damian Lillard. And then even if they go the route of not trading Damian Lillard, which is still a possibility at this point in time, I think that they could legitimately be a second round contender in the playoffs. Now, I don't know if they're going to be a great regular season team, but I think it's going to be very hard to out this team in the playoffs, because you're going to have Damian Lillard, who is a top 3 point guard in the entire NBA and one of the best scorers, maybe the best scorer on any night when he is on the court. He's just that good because it's Damian Lillard. And then you would still have him and probably Scoot Henderson being one of the most athletic freaks in the entire league. You're going to have to guard him. He's going to be able to play very good defense. He's going to really be able to develop behind someone like Damian Lillard. Then, like you said, you have Anfernee Simons, who would probably be one of the best 6 men in the entire NBA. Probably win 6th man of the year if he came off the bench next year, at least be in contention for it. Then you still have Jeremy Grant, one of the better offensive power forwards in the entire NBA, who's very good. Nurkic hopefully can stay healthy. Thybulle would be a great role player defensively, but then you also have guys like Shadyon Sharpe, who's projected to make a huge second year leap. Then you also have guys like Chris Murray and all the other young guys coming off your bench. And I just think overall, if they keep Damian Lillard, I can easily see them, if health stays with them and they aren't going to get injury riddled, mainly to Damian Lillard, I think this is a second round playoff team at best. And I don't mean that as a slight. I think that is a very good thing for how young this team is and for how doom and gloom kind of the whole narrative around Portland has been this entire offseason. I think a second round would be an extreme win for a Portland organization, for their fan base. Now, probably not for Damian Lillard, but all around for the Portland fan base, I think they would take that at this point in time, and I think they can get there in a variety of ways. I think they can even be a playoff team without Damian Lillard if they make that trade. I just think overall this roster is extremely versatile, and I think the future is very bright, and I don't think they're going to be super bad for very long, even if they go the super tank route, because I think their young talent is already there to start winning games fairly soon. But unfortunately, guys, that's my review. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Portland Trailblazers' future is a little bit better than people are giving them credit for? Or do you think it's really bad? What do you think they should do? Who do you think they should trade Damian Lillard to? Or do you think they should trade him at all? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like, hit the like button, subscribe button. That was a word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day. Could I have a blessed day? So you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.